you. And on behalf of the Labour Party, I would very much like to support the motion and also to support the amendment to the motion. The Minister, in his speech putting the counter-motion by the Government, is noting the significant progress made in implementing the NDP in terms of the report published in May. I just want to say this, that this being a government of spin rather than of substance, what we've heard is a huge amount of conversation, declamation and declaration about the National Development Plan. The first being the decision to push the boundaries of the plan out from the normal 5, 7, 10-year time span out to a 22-year time span, so that in effect everything in the wide world in Ireland can get done. But maybe that will happen in year 19 or 22. Will Fine Gael still be in government there then? Who knows? Because it will certainly be at least 3 to 4 general elections after probably the next general election. So in effect, and it is a craft of spinning to put the timeline so lengthy that in effect you can say we've committed to everything and we will have done everything, because honestly, who will know? So in terms of what the Minister was talking about, I would just like to ask him a couple of questions related to the broader, initially to the broader Dublin area. Where in the National Development Plan is the electrification of the railway line from town out to Maynooth? That runs through both our constituencies. And if, for instance, the railway line to Maynooth was to be electrified, if the railway line to Portarlington and Portlaoise was to be electrified, all of them achievable and should be achievable in about a 10 to 15-year slot in the plan. It would actually do the kind of transformation that the previous speaker was talking about of much of rural and central Ireland, because you would then put the Greater Dublin area on a footing with places like London and Paris, where it is quite reasonable to have a short commute by train or by some other very speedy mode of transport to the capital city, maybe 70 or 80 miles out from the capital, and also then to have much stronger towns somewhat further out, where you can have a viable, independent string of towns which are both have local attractions but also have capacities for fast commuting and also cutting down on road saturation and very long, very slow commutes, which is the case for an awful lot of people at the moment, including a lot of couples with children who, because of the extraordinary price of houses in our big cities now, are forced to do extremely long commutes to and from their places of work. Where are things like the Lewis to Lucan? Where's the metro to Swords? I've seen so many cost evaluations and descriptions of undergrounds and overgrounds that even though I know the route quite well, I'm confused as to what the government's real intentions are. I think Fine Gael has developed a serious problem around the question of competency in terms of managing and organising the actual implementation of the projects needed for this state's normal functioning and growth. I'm going to mention again, because the Fiscal Advisory Council featured it today, again in the discussions, the overrun on the Children's Hospital and the enormous uncertainty and huge increase in the ticket price on broadband. We all want to see national broadband going out to every home in the country, and we know that rural broadband is an essential facility and an essential resource for most people, wherever they're living in Ireland, but obviously politically and indeed geographically if they're living in remote areas, so that they can develop the kind of enterprise and they can have a great deal more of working from home and having businesses from their home areas. But what we have in many ways is a national development plan, which is all things to all men and women, with a massive timeline, which almost makes one doubt whether much, if any, of it will be completed. And of course, the opening parts of the plan, those for the 2018-19 years and so on, they're really all inherited from the previous government. There's very little that's different there. I mean, I see the Minister referencing, and I'm glad that he's doing it, the further developments of Grange Gorman. But as the Minister knows, that's ongoing now for well over 10 years. And the real construction and the beginning of the construction took place during the time of the last government. It's good, it's continuing, but this government didn't invent that. And that's why there are such questions over competency in relation to the Children's Hospital. These are the new projects. These are the additional projects. Where are they? I have to say the plan is deeply disappointing in relation to climate change. Where's the kind of vision that is going to decarbonise the Irish economy and provide transition employment for those people who are going to be affected by decarbonisation, the workers who have been working in Bord na Móna, on the bogs, the people perhaps at Money Point, which is one of the biggest polluting points in Ireland. And yet that's been pushed out, Minister, to is it 2027? I mean, there's been some talk about bringing it back a year or two, but we've no definitive date. And what this particular National Development Programme now lacks is, in the aftermath of the Dáil declaring that there is a climate change emergency, to be perfectly honest, we should take a pause, and I think we would all have something to contribute to this, including the government, and sit down and actually work out a serious climate change plan which would take those most polluting areas in our economy, like Money Point, and set out a coherent plan that within a maximum 6 or 7 year period, we would actually take them out of the equation and we would replace them with forms of renewable energy that would actually achieve our climate change targets.
Thank you very much.
So I'm disappointed climate change isn't really touched on.
Deputy Pringle, please.